in some ways it helps the patient articulate their desire in a way that can be measured, right? I'm wondering from a perspective of because our population is very diverse. The Canadian population is very diverse, and one hot topic that is constantly being brought up is health equity or equality and so forth from a healthcare perspective, right? I wonder how do you think about goal attainment scaling in solving, maybe not solving, but specifically in that vector around diversity and health equity? Because it seems like this would be something that in some ways translates a very diverse population into something much more quantitative. So you can actually take everyone's their desires into perspective.
Okay, so in the history of my work in this company and thinking about goal attainment scaling in 8 years, this is the world's best question. And I've only had one other version of it before by this incredible professor at University of California in San Francisco, with whom we ended up working. I am dying to know the answer to this question. So theoretically, I think it should level the playing field, because what's a goal for me may not be a goal for somebody else who has a different socioeconomic status, who comes from a different racial background, or who comes from sorry, I don't know what this is, but he comes from all these different backgrounds. We may have very different approaches and desires and abilities and other systematic barriers in our way and all these things. That's the first thing. Theoretically, I think it's fantastic. But I don't think we should assume that goal attainment scaling works the same way for everybody either. And so I'm fascinated to look at goal attainment scaling, the acceptance of it, the ability to set goals, the ability to have this kind of nuanced conversation with your clinician, um, the ability to track goals, the ability to think through how you're going to rate them, and whether all of these differ by, at least gender, race, socioeconomic background, other things. So we did have some conversations with one sponsor who was looking in a global way, and I was giving a presentation. There were about 9 different countries represented there. And afterwards, I had a very long conversation with the group from Japan, and we were trying to think through logically how you could modify it, because there are cultural differences there that may not lend themselves to this type of conversation with your clinician. So maybe it would just be which clinician does the interview or whatever, but you may need to modify it across cultural and racial and other lines. So anyway, this is an endless area of study that I'm fascinated by, and I don't know all the answers, but I think you're asking the right questions.